fact, I think I know where you were, Kevin, and I think you saw quite a show, quite a football game. How you doing on this Saturday morning?
We're doing well. How are you?
I'm doing good, thank you. And tell me about where you were last night.
Last night over at Timber Creek in Hamilton, a game with teams that are traditionally very opposite of each other. Hamilton, a team that tends to run the football a majority of the time, and Timber Creek, a team that gets it done through the air, and that's exactly what happened last night. And Timber Creek got itself down 14-6 in the second quarter, and then they ran off 23 straight unanswered points to win the game 29-14. So Timber Creek is a team I think that's going to be in the picture when it comes playoff time. And Hamilton, while they did what they traditionally do in the first half and running the football, Timber Creek did a real nice job of shutting that down in the second half. 22 yards on 25 touches in the second half for Hamilton. That's not going to get it done. So, real nice game for the Chargers. A sophomore quarterback, Donovan Leary, the younger brother of Devin Leary, now at NC State. If you're looking at a rising quarterback in South Jersey, Donovan Leary is clearly one to look at. When he has his helmet on and you take a look at him on the field, he's a clone of his brother. He has a cannon of an arm. He puts the ball where his receivers can get it, and he's only going to get better. So they did a real nice job last night, especially in the second half, winning their home opener.
Yeah, if you're an opponent of the Chargers, Kevin Minnick we're talking to, you've got to think like, Leary, didn't that kid graduate? And then you realize, oh, God, another one?
Yeah, he, like I said, he looks just like Devin. It's really it's really odd when he's on the field how much of a clone he really is. And then one thing with Donovan is too, Devin wasn't much of a runner until very late in his high school career, and Donovan has already shown the ability to, if he doesn't see something happen, to get out of the pocket and to run a little bit. And had a real nice run last night to keep a drive going. So. He's if necessary, he can get out there, but obviously everybody's going to look at that right arm, and he puts the ball up there really, really well.
Yeah, 19 of 28 for 250, 4 touchdowns. They scored 23 unanswered points after trailing 14-6. When they were down 14-6, were there murmurs on the sidelines, or was it just a slow start?
No, the thing was, they were doing what they wanted to do, but Hamilton also was running the football extremely well in that first half. Jaden Abrams had himself a real nice game, especially in the first half. They really kind of shut him down in the second half, but they were running the football and they were doing what you would think is a traditional Hamilton team. It wasn't a wing T, but they were running the football and chewing up the clock and basically keeping Timber Creek's offense off the field. So, Ryan Bartz got them 2 touchdowns in the first half on 2 real nice plays out of the option. And, I'm thinking, okay, well, Hamilton's going to just run the ball all night, and, we'll see if Timber Creek can make some adjustments. And, at the break, they made a couple adjustments, and they really stuffed them at the line of scrimmage. And Hamilton really, they tried to run between the tackles, I think, maybe a little bit too much last night, and things weren't going well, and it was tough for them to try to get anything else going. But, Timber Creek's offense is explosive. Its defensive front four is very good. So, teams that are going to try to run the football up the middle are going to have a real tough time.
Yeah, you did a nice job mentioning all those guys, too. Anthony Williams, Curtis Miller, Charles Pierce, Jaron Danford, limiting them that stat. You said 25 yards and 22 carries, because I'll tell you, Kevin, if you look at Jaden Abrams' numbers, you think, wow, 30 carries, 154 yards, Hamilton won. But 33 yards on the 13 touches in the second half really tells the story.
Yeah, as much as Donovan Leary leading that football team offensively, and we tend to kind of look to the offense and the guys that score points and score, the long touchdowns. But defensively, Timber Creek really did shut them down in the second half. And, definitely two sides of the story there. In the first half, like I said, Hamilton ran the ball, very effectively. But the second half, it was just not to be.
Kevin Minnick with us here on the Pete Thompson Show on 97.3 ESPN as part of our South Jersey Sports Report. Let's shift our focus then to Lenape and St. Augustine last night. The Prep coming in ranked, and Lenape takes care of business, 20-7. Your thoughts on that game?
I didn't know too much. We didn't really know, I think, too much about Lenape coming into the season. They had won a championship 2 years ago, and last year kind of maybe took a little bit of a step back in the fact that they lost a lot of guys off that title team. But, they played a team from New York in the opener. They put 48 points on the board and won the game. But, you kind of don't know how good and or bad, that team is. But they came out last night, apparently, setting the tone, getting things done, in all phases of the game again. And as much as we thought that St. Augustine was a team to really reckon with and may still be a team to keep a serious eye on, I think Lenape opened up a lot of eyes last night that's a team that, has to be in the conversation in South Jersey Group 5 again. And really is a football team to watch. And, when you get things done in special teams and you're scoring touchdowns, on punt returns and kickoff returns, that just helps build momentum for everybody else. So I think, like I said, I think Lenape opened some eyes last night, and they're definitely in the conversation right now.
Yeah, Xavier Coleman getting a lot of the praise last night for his big run, but certainly that's the thing, too. Sometimes you can forget about a team when, they lose so many people after a championship or after a big year. You think like, well, they're not going to get back that fast. And, what's the old saying? Some teams don't rebuild, they reload.
Absolutely. And, Lenape has really come on strong in the last, I want to say, 5 to 10 years or so. And they, they're getting it done. And they're, like I said, they're getting it done in all phases of the game. So they've got some athletes on that team. They've got, Xavier Coleman was only a junior, but it feels as if he's been around for a lot longer than just 3 years. And, he recently picked up an offer from Boston College. He's got an offer from Washington State, amongst a couple other teams. And he's a very explosive running back. But they've got some other kids on that team that get the job done. And they're going to hear a lot more about them, I think, as the season progresses.
What else stood out to you last night from Week 1 action? We're finally to a number, no longer 00 or 0. Kevin Minnick, what else jumped out at you last night?
I really haven't studied a whole lot of what happened last night, but I think Rodney Vines up at Burlington Township busted out last night in their opener. I think he ran for 260 some yards and 4 touchdowns. That's a team that had reached the South Jersey Group 4 final last year. I'm sorry, Group 3 final last year, and lost a lot of guys to graduation. And I think like I said, like you said, with teams not absolutely rebuilding but maybe reloading, and Burlington Township could be one of those teams. There's teams like Burlington Township. There's teams that are going to be out there that, like you said, where did they come from because they lost so many guys, but there's probably some very good football players that just had to wait their turn and get their opportunity, and things along those lines. So we're going to see a lot. I think we're going to see a lot of that this year. I think for a while last night, Cherokee was holding its own with Shawnee. Cherokee is a team that was 1-8 last season, beat Washington Township in their opener this year. Shawnee comes back and wins the game, but I think Cherokee is a team to keep an eye on in that realm too. And then last night, I think another game that I just kind of glanced at was Penns Grove, the defending South Jersey Group 1 champion. They squeaked by Woodstown 30-22. So I think, there's going to be entertaining games across the board. And like we've said many, many times, it's a shame we can't get to many more of them. But, if we look around and especially if you check out our site, everything is there, and, you'll get a chance to see, chance to read about a lot of different teams and a lot of different kids.
Yeah, for sure. The revamped NJ.com, too. Go to the website to track all your favorite team. And looks like, in the past, Kevin, sometimes you just get like a little blurb or a write-up, but looks like there's more game stories than ever before. Is that true? Yeah,
they're trying to, the guys up in the north in the office are trying to trying to put out a little bit more than they had in the past. And as long as the coaches and staff people cooperate and get their information in and don't just send us a score or have someone searching for just a score, I think you're going to get a little bit more than usual. So, they're going to do a real nice job up there this season of getting that information out, and obviously it's a good place to go to.
St. Joe still standing out to you because they went to Millville and it looked like they didn't even break a sweat.
Yeah, I have to figure out what's going on, what happened in that game last night, because, from different Twitter feeds and things you hear that, a couple guys from Millville didn't play in that game last night or didn't play until late in the game. And,
right.
And they were some of their better players. But I think going into the game, whether they were on the field or not, St. Joe was going to be the favorite. And, St. Joe just did what St. Joe does. And, they score points, they play tough defense, and Jada Byers ends up with 3 or 4 touchdowns. So, after a week off and a time to rest up, I don't know that Coach Sacco would necessarily wanted to have a bye last week coming off of their win over Highland, but got that bye out of the way. And now we'll start, obviously I think start to build some momentum going into next week's game with St. Augustine. I think, St. Augustine's loss last night takes a little bit of the luster off that game, but it's still a huge game for both teams. It's a rivalry game. It's two schools that don't like each other. And, I'm sure that St. Joe's Field will be packed next Saturday for that game. But, it's St. Joe's a team that I think, will have some competition this year in their schedule, much like last year. But when all is said and done, I think they will be the team that rises to the top again.
Yeah, 43-6, the final there. How about what Mainland did last night against Absegami? So the freshmen, by the way, and a running game in high school football.
Yeah, Mainland, they a couple of years back went through 2 1-9 seasons back to back, and those kids last year turned things around and won their division title, and they're kind of building off of that momentum from last year. I think going into that game last night, Absegami had some very high expectations, and all indications are Mainland, did a real nice job of shutting them down. So, they'll go back to the drawing board today, I'm sure, and Mainland will get an opportunity also to enjoy that victory, but they'll get back to work again too. So, running the football, Pete, is a kind of a lost art, and it's nice to see every once in a while when you get these kids that can get the ball 25 or 30 times and produce with that. And it's obviously it's turned into a little bit more of a passing game nowadays, but every now and then you'll see some kids that coaches are not stupid, and they will understand that they've got something special, and that freshman at Mainland just very well may be a special kid for them.
Yeah, Kevin Minnick with us here on the Pete Thompson Show on 97.3 ESPN. So where are you headed today? Are you and McGarry reuniting in Egg Harbor City?
Yeah, I believe so. We're not going to meet for breakfast or an early lunch, but that's that game today, Camden at Cedar Creek. We've talked about it in the past. The Saturday schedule seems to be lighter every year, and you don't get so many great marquee matchups. But this is going to be, on paper, this is a really, really good game. And Camden has had Cedar Creek's number. They've played 4 times. Camden has shut them out twice, gave up a safety in another game. Both teams are, Camden's off to a 1-0 start. Cedar Creek is off to a 2-0 start, playing much better. And it's going to be a test for both teams. And, I think, Cedar Creek really wants this game. And not that they looked past Salem last week at all, but, as soon as that game was over last week, all attention was on Camden. So, they know that Camden has their number. They know what Camden brings to the table. They don't want to get into a jawing match, I guess, so to speak, with them and get into the hype and stuff and let the emotions get involved. But, we're going to see, I think, in this game, really what both teams are all about. And, Camden will bring a senior linebacker, an all-state linebacker in Tyreek Austin Cave, to lead their defense. They've got a couple other real nice defensive kids. Elijah Clark last week had 3 interceptions. Deuce Chestnut, another defensive back, maybe the top defensive back in the class of 2021. He's getting himself a few offers as well. So Camden's got some athletes, as they always do, and Obviously, we know Cedar Creek's got some athletes. Max Melton, him and Manny Reed today will have to be on their game, especially defensively. And we'll see what happens. But I think it's going to be an emotional kind of game. I think it's going to be a high energy kind of game. And it might come down to who has the ball last in that fourth quarter. If it turns out to be a tight ball game. But I think Cedar Creek fans will be out in droves today. I think it's going to be a real nice atmosphere.
Yeah, it's a gorgeous fall Saturday, and you and Mike McGarry will both be there. Follow Kevin at Minnick Sports, KMINNICK Sports all together. Kevin's with NJ.com, provides great coverage each week and joins us each week here on the Pete Thompson Show at this time.